Okay. KNIME is an open source data analytics platform. You can download it from www.knime.com. You can play with it. It's graphic. And it has a bunch of algorithms that you can use for ETL, for everything. Okay, so why I'm saying that? Because it's open source. So every time that I go to customers, since I work as a consultant, and I propose them to use KNIME, I always get two questions, if those are big companies especially. The first question is how they pay our salaries. But I'm not going to talk about that today. And the second question is about support. They say, what do we do about support? If something happens in the middle of the night, if I work with another company, I'm not going to make names, but if I work with another company, I call them, and in theory, I have a contract, and somebody has to answer. So what do I do with the open source stuff if the support is not coming? This is what started this whole study. So let's see. Okay, so the first I always hear two things. There are the people who are favorable to open source. They are somehow more positive. But there are the people, especially the big old school companies, they are very, especially the banks, they don't trust the open source much because they are not sure if it's good enough. The support is another big issue. So usually what they say is, you get what you pay for. So that's one of the classic things that they say. Another thing that I've heard that was on a LinkedIn discussion group was that, in which other business do you get something for free? Why should you get something for free in the programming business? Which there's some reasons. I mean, you don't get a car for free, and you don't get support for the car for free as well. And then this one was a blogger. And he said, he was working as a data analytics consultant as well, or he's still working. And he said, if I have a technical problem, what do? I don't go around and I tell them, do you have time to solve my problem? I mean, it doesn't work like that in the business world. So why should I then go for open source support? That's the other side of the medal. This is a tweet that I exchanged with, a few tweets that I exchanged with a person. I don't have her permission, so I blanked her name. Basically, she was asking, she's a chemist, and she was asking how to do some chemistry things in KNIME. I'm not a chemist. So I saw this tweet, and I said, I'm sorry, I cannot answer, but you have to ask the KNIME forum, and probably somebody's going to answer you. And she said, well, I just started with KNIME, and I'm not a techie, so I'm not going to understand much of what is explained in the KNIME forum, no? And then it's going to take too long. I need the answer immediately. So what do I do? So anyway, so we talked a bit via Twitter, and then I told her, okay, so let's do like that. You post your question on the KNIME forum. If you get the answer later than in 1 hour, then I'm going to offer you a beer the next time I'm in London. And so then she did it, and then every 10 minutes she was sending me a tweet, and she said, nobody answered. So God, now I have to fly to London and pay her the beer. And so anyway, but then at the end she didn't say anything anymore, so I assumed somebody answered. And, and that was a chemistry question. I mean, it was not a techie question, and obviously she was happy because she didn't come back to me to ask for things. Another example is that this is a person who's actually working here in the I think in Menlo Park, and he's working also as a data analytics consultant. And he started learning KNIME, so I asked him if he needs help, and he said, no, it's okay. As long as I have Google and the KNIME forum, I can find all the answers for all the questions I have. And then finally, there is this 1% rule that says that, there is the 1% of people in the community who's active, and they are going to perform the supporting for you in the community of the open source software. The nice thing of the 1% is that it scales much better than in a support team in a company where you pay for. So now, the thing is it good, is it bad? KNIME, of course, was interested in knowing how things were going because they are open source, so they need to somehow show that they can do support as well. So we decided to start this project. As I said, KNIME is an open data analytics platform. The best resource of the open source software is the community. So we decided to start this project to investigate how the KNIME forum was working. So from the beginning, from scratch, we take the KNIME forum, we download everything that is said in the KNIME forum. We use 2007 until 2012 because the project was done at the end of 2012. 2007 is when KNIME started the forum. And we want to measure the quality of the support that the forum offers, okay? So that was the goal. Now, the quality of the support can mean many things. So it means also in the number of answers that you need. So how competent the people who answer are, how fast they are. I mean, if I get the answer in 10 days, it's not useful. What they talk about, you know, are they going to get sidetracked and then start a chatting line on a completely different topic, you know. So that means many things. But first of all, we need to get the data. So to get the data, I could have asked the KNIME people, and I could have said, you know, to give me the data from their database, but then I thought, you know, I don't want to have any filter in between what, you know, what the real data is and what they actually are storing, because I don't know if they clean it up. So I decided to use a web crawler. This is a snapshot of the KNIME forum. The KNIME forum is, it has many categories, more or less 20, but there are 3 categories that are very, very big. So the KNIME general, the KNIME users, and I don't remember the third one. So anyway, and so you see here is the first page when you access the KNIME forum, and those are the categories those are the categories that you can see. Categories can span several pages, especially the categories with a lot of posts. You know, there is the biggest one that is the KNIME General. This one used to spend 32 pages. Probably now it's more. It's 1 year later. Okay, and each thread, it's a normal forum. So you have a thread that consists of an initial post and a number of comments for each post. Okay, so this is an example of one of the threads, again about chemistry, some of the threads that are on the KNIME forum. Okay. So KNIME is a data analytics platform. It doesn't have a native node for web crawling. So there is not a node that they developed and I can, use it for web crawling. So, what do you do? The nice thing of KNIME is that you can develop your own stuff because it's open source. They have also a tool where you can easily, so it's a wizard where you can easily develop some, write a few lines of Java code and you can easily develop a node. So it would be possible to do it yourself, but, I work, on a limited time and they pay me for that time, so I don't want to waste time on developing my own stuff. So what I did, I went around in the community of KNIME, and I found that there was a group of students at the University of Dresden in Germany, and they already developed a web crawler. So I imported their node, and they were warning me that maybe it was not working, it was the beta release, but actually it was working pretty well. So there were no main bugs. And yeah, so that's also the first advantage of having a community behind the open source software. That if you need something that is not in the software, somebody has already developed it for you before you. After I downloaded the whole HTML contents of the forum, then I need the parsing, and for the parsing I use the XML parser nodes. Those are native of KNIME. You just install them with the core part of the software. And this is the workflow. Okay, so now a few words since not many people know KNIME. So the workflow, you can see, is made of many nodes, and the gray nodes are meta nodes. The meta nodes are nodes that contain other nodes. So they are like, the macro for SAS or the function for R. And so you can see that each one of the nodes has a comment, so I can remember what they are doing. And each one of the section can also be annotated so that I can remember what each section is doing. Actually, I made a video once, and I was using PowerPoint, and then I thought, why should I use PowerPoint? And I was just filming, I used the annotation to write the title, and I was just filming around, and it worked perfectly, so without any PowerPoint slides. Okay, so the first part here is where I download the website, so the HTML code. This part here is where I download the subsites, so all the pages for each one of the categories. And this part here is where I parse all the threads in the categories. So at the end here, I end up with a data table which has one row for each one of the posts or the comments of the category or of the whole KNIME forum. So if we want to go a bit more in detail, here, this one is like it's a node that it's kind of an Excel file, so you can write stuff in it. So here I write the URL that I want to crawl, and the second node, the second meta node, is the one that produces the list of the sub-URLs to download, of the sub-URL to download. So this is what this web crawler here is doing. And this is the inside of the meta node. So I give the URL to crawl as input. That's the node that I downloaded from the community. And then I get this HTML code as output. Okay? The HTML code is saved in a special type, cell type, which is the XML cell type. So KNIME has a few cell types that are native, and one of them is the XML. There are a few also for the text mining. Anyway, if you want to know, you can ask me. And one of them is the XML, and that fits very well with the web crawler node. Okay, so then I move, and I count all the pages for each one of the category. And here I get these results. So here I get, for example, that the KNIME General has 31 pages that I'm supposed to download. I extract the list of the categories, and then I loop around all of them to fetch all the threads for each category page. Okay? So this loop here, those are loop nodes. This loop here is the one that fetches all the threads, all the pages from the KNIME forum. And this part here is the one that performs all the XML parsing from the HTML content. Okay. Okay, so this is the final result. At the end, I have this data table. I have the URL. I have the name of the category in the forum, the date the post was posted, the author, the title of the post, and the content. It's one row for each post or comment. The ones here, there are a few rows without any title. That's because those are the comments to the same thread. Here is the URL of the thread, and here you have the original post, and then you have all the comments that are related to this thread. Okay, so this is the part about, this is the part about downloading the data. Okay, so now let's go with the measurement. First of all, I want to know how active the community is. So I want to know if they write, if they answer, how many people answer, how much they write, and so all those things that are related to the activity of the community. To do that, I use some basic statistics, so some counting, some average measures, some nothing special. And this is the workflow that I use to calculate these statistics. Here again, I have these two nodes. They extract the data that I've showed you before. So here inside this meta node here, actually, there is a switch. The switch allows me to either retrieve the data that I already downloaded the last time, or to refresh my data with a new download session. Okay? And these meta nodes are the ones that calculate, for example, these two, they calculate the number of users by date and by year. Those are visualization node. They plot, in this case, only the line plot of the data. And those are reporting nodes. So eventually I packaged everything into a single report to send then to the manager, to the CEO of the company. Okay, this one. So this is the content of this meta node. This has only accounting and then a moving average of the time series, and this is the plotting, the plot that comes from the visualization node here. And those are the reporting node. Okay, so those are the results. First of all, the number of active users. As I said, we started in 2007, February 2007, the forum was created, until the end of 2012. So you see the number of active users is growing nicely. An active user is a user that has written at least once in the forum. I mean, if he hasn't written during that year, then he's not considered for the for this bar for this year here. Okay. Okay, so this one is growing nicely. Okay. So the users are many. They grew a lot. I wanted to show you something. So, and there is a big jump between 2010 and 2011. So they are many. Do they write? So counting the number of posts, they also write. I only count the posts, so only the questions and not the comments. So those are just the number of posts per year. So there is also a big jump here between 2010 and 2011. There was a big shift in between 2010 and 2011 when the company started also a series of enterprise products for collaborating together. Okay, and this is the same bar chart, but with a higher resolution, so per month instead of per year, per month. And as you see here, the jump between the the number of posts until at the end of 2010 and at the beginning of 2011 is pretty evident. And I don't know, I like to say that Simon Richard was one of the biggest contributor of the one of the biggest contributors of the KNIME forum. That's when he joined. Actually, he joined on February 2011, and that's when the number of posts increased. Okay, so many users, many posts. Does it mean that that's a good support? So now I check the response time in number of days. So this is per year, again, the average number of days until I get the first comment, okay? So 1 means it's the same day, because I started counting anyway from 1. 1 is the same day. So you see that most of the years you need, I don't know, maximum 2 days, so until tomorrow, until you get an answer. So that's pretty comforting. There was a problem in 2010 that the forum was under spam attacks very often, and then they didn't get an answer. So that's why we have this very high number between close to 3 for 2010. Actually, some posts, they never got an answer. Okay, so they answer fast, but are they competent when they answer? So how many comments do I need before I can close the thread? So even in this graphic, I check the number of comments here and the number of posts. So how many posts receive how many comments? So a few posts receive 0 comments, and those are the famous spam in 2010. Most of the posts, they receive only 1 comment, so they are happy with only 1 answer. Some of the posts, they need 2 answers. I have to say the people in the KNIME forum, they are very polite, so it's a lot of thank you, please, so they also count as, comment. So anyway, but there are very, very few posts where actually more than 3 comments are needed, more than 2 or 3 comments are needed. So that means that the forum is useful. So there are only a few questions that the community cannot answer. And for these questions, probably then they need to go to the KNIME developers or to somebody else. Okay, and then finally, I wanted to check if this forum was run by the community or was run by the KNIMers. If they pay people to answer in the forum, then of course that's not very different from having it's not spontaneous. It's not very different from having a support team that you pay. So I checked the people who could be related to KNIME, and actually you could see that the support provided by KNIME becomes smaller as soon as the community takes over. So in 2011, when there was the big jump, actually already in 2010, well, in 2011, when there was the big jump, the community took over, the number of users grew, and the community took over with respect to the KNIME employees. Okay, so the forum is active, it's responsive, it's competent. They give you a lot of answers, so nice. But what are they talking about? I mean, what's the main discussion there? Okay, so the challenge now is to classify topics and to detect, and possibly to detect topic shifts. So let's see if we can learn something about what the users of the forum are talking about. If there is a showstopper bug or something like that. Okay, so for this particular analysis, we only check the post. We don't check the comments. So we want to know what people ask. Okay, if there is a recurring problem, so everybody's asking about database, then probably the database nodes are not working or something like that. So we only focused on the post and not on the answer. Okay. The problem with doing text classification, probably you know that already, but anyway, my problem with doing this kind of text classification is that I don't have classes already pre-built. So people, when they talk, I don't know, they write in a category, so they all write in KNIME general because it's a general question, I don't know why. And so, what do they talk about? I cannot say if, before, a priori, I cannot say if they talk about database or if they're going to talk about reading input files or if they're going to talk about looping. This is not available before. So I need some kind of a taxonomy to perform the text mining classification, to perform the document classification. Since I don't have it from the forum, I've decided to borrow a taxonomy from another place. KNIME, so when you get a node, when you drag and drop the node from the node repository into the workflow editor, there is a little information that you get on the side, and there is the description of what the node does. So I thought that, if I use this description as my training part, so I train my model on the description of the KNIME nodes. And I mean, more or less, it's the same topic because people are going to ask about the nodes. And then I'm going to use the model that I have trained on the descriptions of the KNIME nodes. I'm going to apply it on the post that people are posting on the forum. I don't know. So let's try, and we'll see. I mean, if the two topics are completely different, then it's not going to work. But if there is something, then maybe it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to give me an idea of what, of what some people at least are going to talk about. So that's why I wrote the misuse of not description text to create the training set. If I am able to classify what people are talking about, I am also able to see if there is a topic shift. So if people were talking a lot about database at the beginning, is that because there is a bug? Is that because they want new features for databases? Does it go away? So then people, if there is a bug, the bug is resolved, they shouldn't talk about that anymore, otherwise there is another bug, or I don't know. Or maybe they want something new. So, it's interesting to know if the topics of discussion have changed. That was what I was talking about. So that's the KNIME platform. This is the area where you build your workflow, and this is the node repository. So you have the full list of nodes in here. And this is the description. So if you select one node, in this case it's selected here. If you select one node, you get the description of how the node works and what the task that the node implements, okay? So this is the kind of text I want to use for, to build my model, to train my model on. Okay, and this is the workflow that I use for the text mining. On the upper part, I get the node description texts from the KNIME description files, and I import them to use them as training set. Here I build my model, and on the bottom part, I import the data from my KNIME forum, okay? So here I have the data that I extracted from the KNIME description files, and here I have the data, the text that I extracted from the KNIME forum. I train the model on the description files. I apply the model on the KNIME forum texts. Is that clear? Yeah. Okay. So, and then at the end, I have a bit of post-processing on the classification results. Because what happens? Usually people don't talk about one topic. It's rare that somebody says how the database, unless it's a bug, the database is not working, the database connection is not working or something like that, then it's a question about one specific topic. But usually people, they ask about like, how do I loop on a list of files to concatenate all the results in one output table? So in this case, it would be two topics. It's the reading the file, and it's the looping function. So, it's always more than one topic when people ask, have a question on the KNIME forum. So the post-processing on the results of the prediction is because I took the first three possible classes. And then I defined the three possible classes as the topic for, first class is the main topic, then there is a secondary topic, and then I used also a third topic for the text classification. And here again, there is the reporting, because at the end I built a report that I could send to the CEO of the company. Okay, so I'll go step by step, and let's see, I hope it's interesting. So here, I unzip the archive with all the XML description files into a temp location. So this is the unzip file node. And here, I get this kind of data. So that's the path for all the unzipped files. And here, I get that's an example of a node description file, and that's how the node description is done. Okay? Okay, so, and that's the, at the end I loop around all the XML files to read and preprocess the contents, and that's the final results. So at the end I get the file path, the node category, the nodes are organized in KNIME via node categories, the node name, and the node description. Okay, and the node description is the text that I use for my training algorithm. Here I use this meta node to convert the description text into a document from which the stem terms are extracted. And this is how the meta node looks like. So in this case, I do the conversion. I create the bag of words. I apply a number of filters. I erase punctuation. I apply the Porter stemmer to to perform the stemming of the words. And then finally, I use this key graph keyword extractor. This is because the description can be very long, and I only want to focus on the keywords, and I don't want to, to classify a too big, too high dimensional metrics. Also because some of the words are, they are not necessary. So I used only a few keywords extracted from the text. Okay, so then at the end I use as target for my training procedure. I use the category to which the node is belonging, to which the node belongs. For example, if I use the text description, the description text for the file reader node, the target would be the I/O, because I/O is the category in which the file reader node is. Okay, so I perform the same kind of preprocessing also for the data coming from the forum, okay? And then I use a random forest classifier to address the high dimensionality of the problem, and this is the random forest classifier. As I said, I did this kind of trick to get some taxonomy, because I didn't have a taxonomy to apply to my forum. So I was not sure that if, the results would actually be correct. So this is the validation of the algorithm on its own data, to see if, if I have at least the hope that it's going to work on an exogenous data set. If it's not even working on its own test set, on the test set that is extracted by its data set, then I have no hope that it's going to work on some data set completely, not completely different, but different. So, and, okay, sorry. And this was the result where I got the accuracy of 80%. So I guess I can live with an 80% accuracy that maybe is going to deteriorate a bit if I use a different data set. Okay. So this is the data that I got from the forum, again. And this is, again, the metrics that I defined with the keyword occurrence in the post text. So I find the keywords, and then I use this document vector conversion to translate. So, for example, the word follow is present or is not present in the document. So I use these metrics to feed the random forest classifier and to train the model. Okay, finally, this one I already said. I use a bit of post-processing to define the 3 most likely classes. That's because usually people, they put in the same questions more than one specific topic. Okay, so, and this part is ranking which one are the 3 most likely classes. And that's the result. So I get, see, this is only one diagram, one graphic. I get similar line plots also for the second detected topic and also for the third detected topic, so that's why I'm not showing them. So they're very similar to this one. The data manipulation, so the ETL nodes are always on top, so that's what people probably do the most when they use data. They work on data manipulation, for 80% of their workflows. The mining part gets a lot of questions, and that's also a big part of KNIME. So KNIME has is born with the mining algorithm. So the mining part with all the classification algorithms, the clustering algorithms, and so on, is the one that also gets a lot of posts. So ETL and data mining are the most discussed about posts. And they stay like that over the years as well. So they started like that in 2007, and they actually increased much more in 2010 and 2011. So that's an interesting one. There are 2 things that I would like to show. The R, these nodes here, the very low is the R. KNIME has a, so since they like to define themselves as open, so they have a few nodes to integrate R and to integrate Python, Perl, and all other scripts. And R is, of course, the most popular one. So people sometimes they use KNIME to do the ETL or the data mining part because it's easier, and then they use R to refine it with some exotic algorithms that KNIME doesn't have yet. And those are the questions about R. So how to run the R nodes, the R nodes are actually very nice because it's an editor for R, and you have the full debugging environment. You can inspect the variables. You have the syntax highlighting. So, I have to say, for me at least, it's a big help when I program in R. And so as you can see here, there is a very low number of questions for R, and I was very surprised. And then I realized that R is its specific category, for the R nodes. So this one is for the KNIME general category. The time series is another thing that KNIME didn't have. Last year, there was a node that was produced to change data to make possible the training for time series. And I don't know, it would be interesting to analyze the data for this year and to check if the time series got a bit of boost in the question of maybe nobody does time series analysis. I don't know. So something like that. Okay, so the last question is, there are a lot of users, they talk a lot. We have discovered what they talk about. There was something about the database I wanted to show you, sorry. Here, for example, if you check the database here, you can see that the database had a lot of questions at the beginning. Then in 2011, somehow the whole discussions about databases seemed to be quiet. And then they started again in 2012. And so we thought maybe there was, some bug at the beginning, then it stopped, then it started again. And then we realized that the questions in 2012 are for the non-SQL databases. So all the new questions that came, can you handle this kind of database? Can you handle this kind of query, no SQL query, and so on. Okay, So the last topic is I would like to identify who are the experts. So in each category, for example, in the text processing category, there are going to be a few experts that I can identify. That's also because, you know, they do a very nice work for the KNIME, so you want to pamper them a bit. You want to, you know, to reward them for what they are doing. So, you know, it would be nice to identify them and maybe to monitor what they are saying. So this part, we selected each one of the category. We built a tech cloud for each one of the category to see which were the words that were most common for that particular forum category. And then we built a graph to see who was talking to whom and if there were people who were talking to everybody because they were answering. So we built some network. We did some network analytics. Okay, so again, we take all discussions in one forum category, and that's the output that we want to have. So we get all the discussions in one forum category. For example, the KNIME General has probably many discussions, but the text processing is going to have a few discussions and all very focused about text mining. So this one, for example, is about text processing, and you can see that the tech cloud features the Word document, of course, as the most important one, but it also features Kilian. Kilian is the student who originally developed the text mining suite. Now he's not a student anymore, he used to be a student, who originally started the text mining suite for KNIME. So everybody is, of course, referring to him when talking about you know, some component of the text mining suite of KNIME. And this one here is the graph of the people asking and answering in the text processing category. As you can see, Kilian is actually the central part and is the one, not the only one, but the most prominent person who answers everybody in that particular category. Here there is, for example, the Richards 99, here. And this is also another, he's a chemist, and I don't know, he's everywhere in the forum. And obviously he's asking a lot of questions about how to do text processing. Yeah.
What are the relationships in this graph?
So the blue ones are people who answer. The yellow ones are people who ask. And the neutral ones, I don't know, I don't remember. Yeah. So this is how they are. So the bigger the size, the more exchange there is. So for example, this Kilian Richards 99 has a very thick line, so they've been talking a lot. And yeah, so that's the distance I don't think has any meaning. And that's the workflow that I used to produce this report. So on the top, you have a bit of some statistics about who's talking the most, and the top 3 contributors. I think I isolated the top 3 contributors of that particular category in the KNIME forum. The part in the middle, the green one, is the one that builds the tech cloud, and the bottom part, the yellow part, is the one that builds the network graph to see who's talking to whom. Okay. So I already said that. Okay. So for the text analytics, I already said that I used the same, not the same, but some of the same pre-processing that I used for the previous text mining analysis. I didn't use the taxonomy, so the whole discussion about taxonomy here is not important because, well, I don't do any classification. I just produce the tech cloud for a particular category. But anyway, the pre-processing was a similar one. So I used the tagging, for example, to tag people who were answering and people who were asking. I used the dictionary tagger also to define, you know, distinguish name from topics in the tech cloud. You remember Kilian was red and the document was green. So there was a bit of tagging involved to make the tech cloud a bit more significant. Yeah, and so this one was the result at the end. So as you see, the different colors, they also refer to different kind of entities. So the person are red, the KNIME-related terms are green, And then the verbs, for example, are blue. Okay? Okay, and this is about the network analysis. So I did the opposite. The text mining is the yellow part, and the network analytics is the green part. The network analysis ignores the topic. It only looks at relationships between users, so among users. The network node represents users, and and the relationship between users. That's the input part of the network analytics nodes. So that's the input table. You can see you can have here the forum category. Those are nodes provided by some third-party development group. Here is the author, and here is the people who commented and how many times they commented. So that's the data table that I created to feed the network visualizer for the report. Okay. And the network visualizer is a standard graph viewer, and that's what it shows. This is for the CDK. Again, the CDK is a chemistry group. They develop their own nodes, and so they have their own section in the forum as well. And Stefan is the main developer of the CDK nodes, and as you see, Stefan is the one who answers to everybody and has a lot of exchanges with, I don't know who's the guy there, anyway, with all the other people. Okay, and then eventually, that's the reporting that came out at the end, is a multi-page PDF output. You click on on the link, and you get the page with the description of that particular category. So here is the list of categories in the forum. You select one, and then you get, so it's a simple report just to isolate the different categories, because the CEO was interested in some of the categories and much less in some other categories in the KNIME forum. And here there are a few examples. If you want, I can show you them, one after the other. If you notice here, so those are, so this one was the text processing. This one is the RDKit, which is another extension by a chemistry extension by a third-party group. And this one was the KNIME General, right? Is that the KNIME General? Yeah. No, it's the KNIME Users. The KNIME Users is one of these three big categories, and as you see, there is not a dominant person. There are many people who answer and many people who ask, and so you cannot isolate one single expert like in the other forum categories. You can see a few. For example, Gabriel is Thomas. That's one of the developers at KNIME. That's prominent, but there are a few more that are also as prominent. And and that's a bit more complex graph. Okay. So that's a summary. So I'm at the end. That's a summary. What I've done in this workflow, so in this series of workflow, I got data from a web crawler. I extracted some simple statistics. I classified the topics, and I detected the topic shifts to see, if things changed in time, in interest and bugs and problems changed in time. And I used the network analytics to identify users and also especially to identify the experts in each one of the category. So about open source support. So at the end, the whole question was about open source support. So the KNIME user community is healthy, is growing, and actually is extremely important for the KNIME growing strategy. So probably, I don't know, if KNIME was not open source, I don't think they could manage to support all these people on their own. And the community developed extensions are also a vital part of the KNIME experience. So the HTTP retriever node, the web crawler node, I actually got from the community. It was not part of the native sets of node of KNIME. And the 1% law of the internet culture seems to be so realistic, but only after you have passed a critical mass threshold. So before 2011, the involvement of the KNIME people was pretty big. It became smaller after the 2011 because the number of people grew. So the number of people in the community grew. Okay. If you want to download the examples, because here, I don't know, I was too fast and you want to know more details and something like that, you can download it from the KNIME website. You can download KNIME from the KNIME website, and then there is in the menu, there is resources and then white papers, and you can download data, workflows, everything from there. And there is also a little description of what has been, we have been doing. And then you can, of course, you can also email me if you need some more help. Now, since we paid the lunch, there is a little advertisement. There is going to be at the Computer History Museum on January 14th. We are going to have a KNIME learning course, a full day. I think it cost $150, basically to cover the cost for the renting of the Computer History Museum. And so if you want to be there, you can find the group on Meetup as well. And if you want to, there is this book that a fantastic person wrote. And so if you want, you can get a free copy by using this Meetup SF13 code. So if anybody is interested. That's it. I'm finished.